Hello everyone, welcome, and this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between OGS's Hero versus OGS's the STC. Here we have Hero, who looks to be playing on Liquid Hapro's account, or Hapro's account, spawning as the red Protoss. Meanwhile, to confuse things even further, we have STC spawning as the blue Terran player under the name Riptide. Hopefully I do not get confused too much, but I do know that does happen from time to time. This is game one in a series between these two players. It is Terran versus Protoss, Protoss versus Terran, depending on how you like to describe your matchups. And this game is now getting underway. We should probably be seeing a supply depot, already being built in the backside, already has a pylon warping in Hero. And so pretty much standard openings, no cheese tech, no crazy strategies coming in so far. Now, because this is going to be a relatively close spawn, at least for walking units, I do expect a lot of early aggression. Both players could try to take their earlier expansions or their low ground expansions relatively early, but trying to take your third base will be a little bit more difficult. This high ground expansion here is awfully close to your opponent's base. Same thing with this expansion here. So if any players wanted to take an additional base, I would assume that they would either take this far high yield expansion or some of these high ground expansions, as well as both of them are viable options. We now have a probe coming into the base. Peppy the probe gonna come around, see Stevie the SCV, and then start dealing some damage already. Stevie's twin brother now trying to come in and trying to help him, but it looks like, oh no, this one SCV is now currently down to 25 hit points and will be able to continue to build in peace. Now, one of the changes recently on Metalopolis is the addition of these vents over here. So that means that with these vents over here, you actually cannot see any units hiding off in this location. So this is actually a perfect place to hide any dropped units, because even if your opponent has a building here, they cannot see beyond these vents. Only air units can actually shoot them down. We now have a cybernetics core, the standard gateway, currently being already up and running, and now going into double gas. Liquid Hapro going for early double gas, going for a very strong tech build. We'll see how STC tries to respond to this, because a very early gas is normally very vulnerable to a lot of Marines and Marauders. Oh, one Marine trying to chase after this probe. The probe, however, is at pretty much full hit points already, now taking a little bit of damage there. We now have a second Marine now coming in, and it looks like that second Marine will be able to finish it off. Two Marines better than one, able to shoot down that one lone probe. Back over here, we have an SCV activating this Zelnaga watchtower. Will be able to catch sight of any drops or any void rays that try to move out. And now we have a sentry being built. So it is going to be Sentry Zealot off of double gas. We also have a pylon being warped in along the backside here, so we'll see if any hidden tech does happen along this area. Now, it is much more difficult to try to hide any tech buildings back here, just because of the limited number of space you have. Those vents, you cannot build on them, I do not believe, so that does cause a little bit of a problem. We now have a sentry and a zealot, for some reason also lagging my computer. A zealot and a sentry sitting on this ramp here will be able to fend off any units, fend off an attack, drop some force fields, and be able to push any attacks back. We now have two Marines and a Marauder making their way out. We have one barracks and another barracks here, so it is going to be double racks play coming in already. These Marauders and Marines may simply be able to walk up this ramp, get some damage. We already have the robotics facility being warped in, and Liquid Hapro trying to go for a second sentry. Those two sentries should be able to fend off this attack fairly well by dropping down one and then two force fields. Oh, one sentry taking some damage already there, and now that zealot did take a concussive shell in the back, but still has plenty of shield to absorb even more damage. Those shields will start to recharge in just a moment, and no real damage has been dealt. A Marine and a Marauder now moving out. One poor probe should be able to get sight onto that command center there, but not able to scout out any much more. Marines and Marauders perhaps activating this Zelnaga watchtower now, as we are now going into an observer. So this is double sentry into a zealot play. Those sentries are very important in order to get a lot of guardian shields down, reducing the amount of damage. And now we also see additional gateways being warped in over here, so Liquid Hapro I'm sorry, not Liquid Hero, OGS, Hero, excuse me, Hero will be able to do a very effective 4-gate in just a moment. We now see what Marines and Marauders, they're wandering about very, very far away from their base, and that is a really dangerous move. Having your army such a far distance away from your base, if your units are not engaging in the fight and that cannot offer any serious protection, they can get taken down very easily. We see some sentries and a zealot here. No expansion has been placed down yet by either players, and now we also had a warp prism, so this is going to be a 4-gate with a warp prism, and that warp prism should be able to deal a lot of damage. The Marines and the Marauders should be able to jump inside that bunker with no real problem there. This warp prism going to just go into warp mode in just a moment, perhaps take down that SCV. Oh, very nice, making sure that the warp prism was not spotted, and oh, now coming in for a drop. Hero has to be very careful, doesn't want to reveal to the Xel'Naga watchtower, and now in comes this unit here, and now dropping some units already, and he's gonna get a force field on the ramp. Beautifully done. And now Hero now warping in with a lot of sentries. Zealots already inside the base. Sentries perhaps should probably go back over here, perhaps try to get some more force fields into play. Another force field, there it is. Another force field preventing any units from coming in. Marines now trying to come out to engage. A Marauder is there as well, but the Marauder not going to be able to deal that much damage at all. Sentries now trying to battle it out against those rest of the units. Another force field coming into play. Sentries fighting back against those, SCVs fighting back against those sentries. Both sides fighting back and forth. SCVs coming off the mineral line in order to try to engage, but the Marines and the Marauders on that low ground. And wow, Hero opening up with an amazing warp prism play, completely catching these Marines and Marauders off guard. There are a couple of Marauders on the low ground, but now Stalkers are being warped in as well. More force fields on the ramp. A lot more tech buildings have been shut down as well. Another force field could be coming in. There it is. And now more Marines and Marauders are stuck on the wrong side of the tracks. Once again, one of those Stalkers will get shut down in just a moment. That sentry also shut down, but now Hero has done so much damage as more sentries are continuing to warp in, now dealing more damage against those Marauders as well. Sentries doing a decent amount of damage against more and more of those units. Will be able to take down more of those Marines as well. There are sentries fighting back against those Marauders. Sentries, I wouldn't normally think they're a decent counter against Marauders, but because they are not armored units, they do not take that full damage, and they are also ranged, so they also helps out significantly against Marauders, which like to kite Zealots. So those Zealots now trying to chase after those Marauders, unable to deal that much damage at all. We now see there's an expansion over here already. The one warp prism is in play, and now a Zealot running in down over here. Both sides taking a lot of damage so far, and the Marines unable to shoot down that warp prism, down to 6 hit points. No armor plating, one more shot and it will be taken down. Just needs one more shot from those Marines, and now the STC says GG. So a really, really well-played game and a really interesting strategy by Hero. Hero opening up with a 4-gate into a warp prism, or sorry, a 1-gate into a robotics facility for warp prisms. And then with that warp prism getting a lot of energy, loading up with sentries that had a lot of energy, and then able to drop them right here on the ramp, preventing any of those units from being able to walk back up. That was absolutely beautiful play. And I think any Protoss player out there could try to emulate the strategy, and it would work out pretty well in high-level diamond and master level. It may not work out too well in say gold level and below, or platinum level and below, just because most players do not expand as quickly as the STC did in this game. STC took an expansion around the 5-6 minute mark game time wise, and because of that he had all of his units on the low ground, but that one early warp prism coupled with those sentries dropping the force fields on that ramp really took the game. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed game 1 in this series. I will be casting a couple more games. I'm not sure if this is actually part of a tournament or if this was just a couple of practice games, but yeah, this definitely felt like a real high level game. I hope you guys enjoyed it.